Giants 27, Eagles 10. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. Victory Monday. Now, the Giants season is over. Justin, you were there. The Giants finally beat the Eagles, first time since 2021, when Xavier McKinney also intercepted Jalen Hurts in that game. Giants end the season 6-11. Obviously, well short of our expectations. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's always a little somber to, leave MetLife Stadium for the last time because, this tricky little thing called football and the sport that we love, no matter how bad this season was, it's going to be basically 8 months until, I'm back in that stadium and going to Giants games, whether the team is good, whether the team is bad. It's my favorite thing in the world, and it's gotten even more fun since we've interacted with everybody and since we get to see people that go to Giants games as well. So I'll tell you what, it was cool. The New York Football Giants just kicked the shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that, regardless of pick or whatever, or how you're feeling, or doesn't matter, does it not, it's not going to really carry into next year because the roster is going to be so different. But saying that sentence feels good because the New York Football Giants did just kick the shit out of the Philadelphia Eagles. They did.
The Eagles are in rough shape, right? I didn't really have any emotional like feelings with winning or losing, and honestly, well, I wasn't like, oh damn the draft pick. Obviously, I would have rather picked 5th and 6th. It was just I went into this game, Justin, as like the season is over in 3 hours. This season is what it is. There's nothing from this game that can change what this season was, right? If we still had 16 game schedules, here we are. So I don't have much takeaways from this game, but man, it's crazy how this Giants season unraveled, right? Like, we were there at training camp. They were legitimately good. And we were talking to reporters who were there every single year and asked them, like, man, is this different? Like, is this different than other training camps? Because we're like, we don't want to overreact to training camp. They look so good on offense to the point where they look so good on offense in camp that we were worried about the defense. And just that first drive versus Dallas, man, it felt like it all fell apart where, you had JMS messes up the snap, you kick a field goal, it gets blocked, Andrew Thomas gets hurt, and everything spiraled from there. The player most correlated to Daniel Jones' success was out for 7 games. Daniel Jones himself got hurt, then came back and then tore his ACL. It just went to shit where the Giants, just like you said, beat the crap out of the Eagles, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference. Like, I guess it makes difference in the draft pick, but like, as far as like this team or anything, just makes no difference at all.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, shout out to patreon.com/talkinggiants, $2 a month, and all those fun things you already know the perks of. We live stream. We're live streaming right now to our Patreon subscribers, and somebody asked, did it feel extra special winning that game with all those Eagles fans there, or did it not hit because you wanted the pick? And I'm with you, man. It wasn't even like, shit, I really want that draft pick and I really want that pick, because I ultimately think Joe Shane, unless somebody falls, right, which a quarterback could fall that they really like, but I have a feeling that Joe Shane's going to have to trade up, and that is in front of them if they want that, and if a certain team will cooperate with the Giants and, willing to take that draft capital as well. We have plenty of months to talk about that. But, it didn't really feel extra special beating them today because it's like, all right, well, I want to have wins like this in like September and October. And that's what made 2022 so fun. Bobby, what were we, 6-2? 5-1? How did we start 2022?
Last year? 7-1. They beat the Jags, they were 7-1.
Yeah, and that's what made last year like so great, is that awesome start of being 7-1, and having not just relevant months, but really winning football in September and October. That's what made last year so great and so fun. And you want those statement wins in September and October to set up what happens in November and December, where even if you struggle a little bit in the second half of the season, you set yourself up to a point where the Giants last year did, and they wound up winning a playoff game. So.
Can I say where I feel positive coming down the stretch of this season, right? Because it's been essentially over. There's been no real implications for playoffs or anything for a while.
Yeah, they were
even when they weren't eliminated, the playoffs were more of like a joke, talking point than anything. Now, this is a big if, right? And this is why we're not making this episode super long, because things are going to move fast this week. Joe Shane speaks at 8:30 a.m. Monday morning when you're listening to this. This season could have unraveled even worse when Daniel Jones tore his ACL and Tyrod Taylor was already injured, right? And they somehow won 3 games in a row with Tommy DeVito at quarterback, Justin. And yeah, did the defense contribute to that with turnovers and stuff? Absolutely. But they scored 31 points and 27 points in 2 of those wins, right? Like, they were able to scheme some stuff to make some plays, and then DeVito played well against a pack. Like, hey, is Joe Barry's defense bad? And, are you huge takeaways? But no, but that could have, 2 years ago with Jake Fromm at quarterback, the Giants aren't doing that to the Green Bay Packers defense. I don't care who their defensive coordinator is.
Scored 25 against the Rams.
And you put together like 3 halfway decent outings with Tyrod Taylor as your quarterback. The second half versus the Eagles, then the Rams last week, and then the Eagles this game. A stat, right? Because Tyrod Taylor's played really well. And I think this can show this coaching staff off a little bit. Versus the Rams was Tyrod Taylor's only a second 300-yard game in his career.
Yeah.
I was blown away, right? Because he started 58 or 59 games in his career. 300-yard games aren't, these illustrious things that you don't come along.
Like, and Tyrod Taylor's been on a lot of bad teams where you would think that, the Texans and, what other teams is he's been on? The Bills, who the Bills kind of,
he won games with the Bills. You would have thought he'd had a couple 300-yard games in there.
Yeah.
And this game he had 297. So here's where it's a big if, because we don't know if Wink Martindale's coming back. We don't know if Mike Kafka's going to come back. But we do know Brian Dable's coming back, and it'll be the first time the Giants will have their head coach coming back for year 3 since Tom Coughlin, it does feel good to get off of this 2-year cycle, even though there's a lot of question marks going ahead. Is like, I trust this coaching staff to get the most out of their players.
Yeah.
Right? If they stay together. Now, do I have questions of if Joe Shane can get them the right players?
Yes.
Absolutely. That has not been proven at all yet. Has not been proven at all. But if you do, I think you're going to get them. And I think if you get even like a slightly above average group of players, they're going to be in the playoffs consistently. And if they can get quarterback right and figure it out, then I think they're going to be competing. So that's where I do feel good about the season as, man, with other coaching staffs, this would have spiraled even worse out of control. Where, again, we've watched halfway decent offense football, despite the fact that they're one of the worst offenses in football, but they have put together, 20 to 30 points with, a backup QB in Tyrod Taylor and a quarterback who really has no future in the NFL in Tommy DeVito, where with the last coaching staff, they had to just stop throwing the ball in games that they were down like two scores in.
Yeah, I agree. Being 2-8, and then Daniel Jones, has that injury and, doing whatever. I don't think other coaching staffs will squeeze out 4 victories. I don't think so. And
they went 5-4 with their backup quarterbacks. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, but the next step in that is it went so wrong in September and October, and you could have predicted that the Giants took a step back this year. And hey, tougher schedule, second year, maybe the NFL starts to figure out what Brian Dable and Mike Kafka are doing with Daniel Jones. Sure, you could have predicted that the Giants took a step back, but nobody predicted that through the first 2 months of the season and basically, maybe even stretch it out to 10 games, that the Giants would have the worst offense in football, because that's what it was. They had the worst offensive football. If you take away 2 quarters against the Arizona Cardinals, it gets even worse. So they need to figure out what went wrong. And even in 2022, offensively, they didn't really get off to the hottest start, and they still kind of fluttered offensively in the middle of the season last year, and they finished off the season strong, which is good. And then even similar to this year, they finished off the season strong, had some good second half offensive performances. They need to figure out and do a full-on kind of autopsy. What the hell went wrong with is it simply Andrew Thomas?
I really I don't want to give, but I really do think Andrew Thomas missing 7 games was, Justin. Now, the offensive line still needs a lot of work with Andrew Thomas. We got to remember how bad that offensive line looked in that stretch, versus San Fran, versus Dallas, versus Miami. Like that was the worst offensive line play we've seen, right? And they're still not good when Andrew Thomas is back, but it was really bad, man. And like they were playing Marcus McKeithen, right? It wasn't just they were like had Josh Azudu in there for Andrew Thomas. They were playing guys like Marcus McKeithen, who probably won't be on the roster next year. You had Ben Bredesen starting games at center instead of guard. Evan Neal was playing worse than Tyree Phillips. It was really, really bad in that stretch with offensive line play. And that being like paired, like, hey, when they had chances for explosives and had time, DJ just didn't take those shots. I don't think that makes the difference of the season looking great or bad, but it does make a difference. Yeah. I really think Andrew Thomas being out, like, really, really screwed them. I mean, and we talk about, and this isn't even a defense of Daniel Jones, but we know he has two different quarterbacks when Thomas is playing quarterback and when not. Like I looked up the stats last week when I was doing that year-end offensive line report. He has 60 more yards per game in games with Andrew Thomas since 2021. Right? Like everything is up. Besides completion percentage is down by 1%, but his yards per attempt is still up. So.
Yeah, touchdown to interception ratio is even much better too, right?
Way difference. All the almost over half the interceptions are without Andrew Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah. So the September and October, like I know there's a lot of people that will look at this season and be like, the Jets game. Oh man, they really could have had that Jets game. At all. Oh man, they really could have had that Bills game. And even looking at the Rams game. Even looking at the Rams game, that's 3 games, or even the Christmas Day game against the Eagles, which that goes into a Tommy DeVito conversation. But there's a lot of fans that will look at, what if they just had those 3 wins? If Mason Crosby makes the kick against the Rams, and then the Bills game, and then the Jets game, and then look at that, bada bing, bada boom, the Giants are 9-8. I don't do that because this team was 2-8. This offense was the worst offensive football in September and October when we were expecting them to be kind of like above average. We really were.
Absolutely. We absolutely were, right? Again, we'll figure out how the dominoes fall with this coaching staff. I was a little mad because I was looking forward to the Jay Glazer segment. I'm like, oh yeah, this segment's basically all about head coaches because there's plenty of head coaches being fired next year. So we'll figure all about that.
Can I say too? I would have enjoyed this game definitely more if I knew that Wink Martindale was going to be back next year. Like I partially did not. I was sitting there being like, why am I going to root for this defense in the aggression? And they said on the post game show with WFAN, John Schmelk and the crew, they said 80% blitz rate on Jalen Hurts. I don't know where they pulled that necessarily, but 80% blitz rate on Jalen Hurts. Like he had nowhere to go. He had nowhere to throw the ball. The Eagles have no quick game. It's non-existent in their offense. He's running and he's scrambling outside the pocket. He's throwing the ball away. He's taking pressure. There's the Dane Belton sack was awesome. So I'm sitting back and it's like I want to enjoy this defense and I want to enjoy this defensive performance and this game plan. But I feel like I can't because the advantage that Wink Martindale has been for this defense, I feel like he's not going to be here, and that sucks.
Yeah, we'll see if it happens, if there's any sort of mediation from Mayor up top.
I hope there is. Come on, John.
Obviously there's difference between mediation and what happened to Joe Judge, where it's like, nope, you are going to stay with Jason Garrett, and you're going to stay with Dave Gettleman too.
But the difference is those people were bad at their jobs.
Okay, but it'll end up worse in the long run if they don't want to work with each other and they're not forced, like, hey, you're doing this, but highly suggested to make this work. Yeah.
But that's really bad on Dable.
In the long run.
It's a terrible mark on Dable if that's the case.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, we'll have pods this week figuring all that stuff out. Why don't you talk to us about something?
Oh, I'll talk to you about something. Bobby Skinner, how does winning $165 million sound? Is that something that you're interested in?
Yeah, I actually would be, to be honest.
Well, that's the current Mega Millions jackpot. And today's sponsor, Jackpot.com, lets you play the lottery right from your phone. You can play Mega Millions, Powerball, New York Lotto, and more. And there's no need to stand in line at the convenience store. I know you hate that. All you have to do is to download the jackpot.com lottery app, and it's now live in New York, Texas, Ohio, and Massachusetts. Bobby Skinner, you hate standing in line at places. You hate it. Just do it from your phone. Do it from your phone.
Pat Leonard sees at all signs point to Wink Martindale being gone and Mike Kafka being back.
Oh, Justin was right.
Just kidding.
No, cut.
A football aggregator account did embed your video of the MetLife burning down and it was literally burning. So we can talk about that.
No, yes, it was.
Jackpot.
Download the jackpot.com lottery app, choose a game, pick your favorite numbers, or let jackpot.com choose for you. Ooh, that's fun. Plus, we have the hookup for a free ticket.
Pick your numbers, by the way. Pick your own numbers. Don't listen to Doug Analytics.
4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. That's the numbers of loss that are cursed. All you have to do is use code GIANTS when you make a deposit. That means you have a chance to win. I'll tell you how much. $165 million. Whoa, for free if you use code GIANTS at the jackpot.com lottery app. So click the link below to download or go to jackpot.com and make sure you use code GIANTS at checkout. You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Dude, Bobby Okereke listened to Carl Banks.
He did.
He purposely just jumped over and hit Jalen Hurts before the tush push. He listened to Carl Banks. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
He might have thought that the ball moved. But
yeah. So I'm just gonna say it, right? And I reply. He quote tweeted my the gif of the great editing job I did of the guy jumping over the judges stand.
That was very good.
If I told the full story on how I edited that and how the things I had to work around on my screen, you would love it, Justin. Because my screen recording device, sometimes when I'm recording YouTube TV, you know how it has that yellow line that shows you recording?
Yeah.
For some reason, when I'm recording YouTube TV, when I end a video, sometimes it will just leave the yellow line there. So I didn't want to shut down my computer or anything, so I put the two video files on top of each other, but I had to small them to get in that yellow line, so it didn't show the yellow line in the screen recording. So that's why it's not showing them as full. Anyways, I want to get Bobby Okereke on the van, and I'm just, he's not going to admit to doing that. I'm just going to ask him, hey, this play, you did, right? And just, not make him say it, specifically yeah, I was just trying to jump over. I'd just be yeah, that's what you did. So there's no way he didn't do that.
You want him to give a non-verbal confirmation.
Yes, absolutely. There's no way that was on accident, that he just jumped over the line to hit
good thing
Jalen
we have
Hurts.
video.
So we'll I hope to do that. It's my goal to get him on the podcast this offseason. Sterling Shepard. How was it? How was the $10 million long, drawn-out ceremony that they did for him?
Dude, did people really freak out as much as I thought that they did?
It was only how it is, right? It's a vocal minority about that, and usually it's okay, ignore that. But I was this is the most loser shit ever, complaining that they're going to let Sterling Shepard run out of the tunnel. It's I can't bite my tongue on this. This is, you've gotten too comfortable complaining about shit. That was the most loser behavior shit I've ever seen. Complaining about Sterling Shepard being able to run out of the tunnel last.
Do you want to know how long all that took?
How long?
21 seconds.
20. I think it took less than that. I think the video was 21 seconds, and then it was 14 seconds, and he
but they showed him, and he gave Hyatt a hug and everything like that. So then I was all right, well, that's over. The whole experience of honoring Sterling Shepard before the game was 21 seconds. That's it.
And you look in the stands, most of the people weren't even in the stadium yet.
Also, there were a lot of people booing.
That was crazy at halftime. You could hear the boos through TV, the Eagles fans booing.
Oh, yeah.
They
Eagles
all left.
Players. Jolly Olive was waving them goodbye. He waved. It was very funny. He was waving goodbye. There's a video on Talking Giants.
I'll have to check that out.
It's got over 1,000 likes.
Saquon didn't get 1,000 yards. Let's talk about Saquon quickly.
Yeah.
He is definitely changing the way he talks to media, and he's going to be more aggressive on like trying to control the narrative this year, where last year it was a disaster class of like, yep, want to be a Giant for life, and let all the rumors of the contracts being offered go out there at the bye week afterwards. He's going to try and control the narrative, and I'm not buying. I refuse to believe that the Giants and Saquon Barkley, who tweet out, every 10 seconds about trying to get him to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year, that they're divorcing until it happens. I just refuse to believe it's going to happen until it happens. He's
talking like he's Sterling Shepard right now, though.
It's smart. It's smart by him to play that. Like, hey, you guys know I'd love to be a Giant, but hey, maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. Like he's playing this smart.
Strange to hear, though. Because he, going from what he was, and I want to be a Giant for life, and I understand the legacy aspect of it. And then it was a very quick switch to flip. But I don't even know if he doesn't have leverage. That's the crazy thing.
And his leverage is that people love him.
When at least 2022, he was coming off a really good year. This year, how many yards per carry did he finish with? You said
3.9, which is like really bad. And we can, I could explain till I'm blue in the face, like that's an offensive line step. But at the end of the day, it's like this investment has not worked made the running game good. So should we continue to do that because we love each other, or should we just decide to move apart for the better?
He's talking like he's Sterling Shepard, and that's crazy to hear.
6th pick in the draft, Justin. We got pick 39 and 47. I'm actually really excited about those picks. And then pick 70. Who will the Giants draft?
Crazy to think that they're going to trade up.
I do think it's crazy. I think the top 3 teams in the draft want a quarterback. I think the Bears, you can talk about all this Justin Fields smoke. I think they're going to take a quarterback.
They'd be crazy not to.
And the Patriots are probably going to take a quarterback. We got a lot of time to digest that, Justin. And we jokingly said we're going to do a segment at the end of every pod. We won't. But
listen, I mean,
all right. If a gun to your head, Giants draft a quarterback in the first round or not?
Yeah.
I still killed your ass.
Sure. I think they do. I think Shane's going to get aggressive. Now, obviously, it takes 2 to tango. It takes another team to be interested in those assets. But I think if there is a quarterback in this draft that Joe Shane wants, and it's like this is the guy, I think he will be aggressive in trying to get him.
We shall see. We shall see. And if you're wrong, I'm going to shoot you in the draft stream.
Sure.
That's a guaranteed fact.
I kissed your forehead in 2022.
Schedule for next year?
Yeah, I kissed your forehead in 2022, and then you'll shoot me this year.
The opponents.
I did, and I think we're gonna win 17 games.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that home Colts game as maybe the game I come up for this year. I hope that's a little later in the year. One of my best friends is a Colts fan.
Dalton Feely is a Colts fan.
Yeah, there you go. I think that might be the game I want to come up for.
I think I may want to go to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. That'd be a good crowd to experience.
Yeah.
Played them week 1 4 years ago.
Yeah.
AFC North is tough, but maybe all their quarterbacks will get hurt.
One of the best Giants victories, like low-key underrated Giants victory ever, is them going into Pittsburgh in 2008 and beating Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. And really, it was like a statement win that year. Where it's like, oh, look at the Giants. They're here.
I mean, Eli, arguably his best game as a rookie was versus the Steelers in that game they almost won. That was actually a Saturday game, too. I remember that.
Look at that. Yeah, I'm excited about I'm already excited about next year. And dude, here's the thing. I mean, we said it after the Rams game. We said it when Tommy DeVito was, torching the Commanders and torching the Packers. We know those defenses are really bad. And, Joe Barry's a very unique defensive coordinator with the Packers. I'm really excited for the future of this team. Like, hey, like, hear me out. Like, there's no crystal ball of if the Giants are going to draft a quarterback next year, right? I am even excited for Daniel Jones to come back and have Andrew Thomas healthy. Like, if that is a part of the future, I will talk myself into being optimistic about the New York Giants. If Bobby Skinner just made a face at me. But I will talk myself into being...
He's come off the torn ACL, and...
I know, man, but I'll still talk
his
myself
confidence
into...
has to be at an all-time low.
I'll still talk myself into being optimistic and excited about this Giants team, and part of it has to do with the fact they didn't just fucking suck the last month of the year. That will be part of it. It will.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend the all offseason being like, oh, they got to get better, right? They got to get better in a lot of areas. And we'll see how it goes.
No, but the last month affirmed what we already knew. It's that, again, we'll see with defensive coaching. But
yeah, I felt that way in those other games too, right?
Yeah.
Besides the Dallas game, they game plan horribly on offense. They got too excited. I think they got too excited about training camp, and then they're like, oh shit, we cannot protect.
Yeah. But it's 2 years in a row now where they've gotten very excited and they've had lofty goals about what they can accomplish schematically in terms of average depth of target and pushing the ball downfield. This is 2 years in a row now where they've come out with offense A and then they've had to transition to offense B. And that is the transition period that I want to avoid next year. The offense that we see in September and October, unless everybody and their mother gets hurt, the offense that we see in September and October next year is the offense that I also want to see in November and December. I don't want to have this major adjustment haul. And if we have to do, hey, if coaching staff, you always have to adjust. But I think the last 2 years, it's been misevaluation on what you can accomplish and what your personnel can accomplish. Whereas last year, it was, hey, Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney can't be your wide receiver 1 and 2s, and Sterling Shepard goes down with the season-ending injury. Whereas this year, I think they misevaluated what Daniel Jones can accomplish, especially without Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal being bad as a right tackle. So I don't want to have this major overhaul of what this Giants offense looks like in November and December.
Yeah,
I want stability.
Obviously, quarterback's going to be the biggest conversation of the offseason, but offensive line, you really got to take that shit serious, man. Like, and I'm not saying it just like the pick at 6, but you got to really... And I feel like taking depth is serious, right? Not being like, okay, look, we got a new different 5, right? No, you need to take depth seriously, right? You need to spend money on depth at offensive line. And you need to make sure, you bring guys back. Like Ben, I don't care if he's the 8th offensive lineman on this team. Hopefully he is. Ben Bredesen should be back.
Yeah.
Right? Again, 8th offensive lineman, sure, but he should be back. You shouldn't look at, hey, well, we don't want him as the starter. He shouldn't be back. No, he should be back. So, Justin, do you have anything else? I wanted to keep this episode kind of short because we will have probably a quick turnaround and next time we talk to everybody. And you got anything else?
No. If you're listening to this before Monday at 8:30 a.m., Joe Shane will speak to the media and we'll be covering that. We'll be listening to that. We'll see what happens with Wink Martindale. I hope the media presses Shane about injuries and what the hell happens there and what have you uncovered from, wanting to really look into the medical side of the staff. Joe Shane talked about that when he came in as his introductory press conference. They're like, oh, this franchise is usually historically very injured. And he's like, I'm going to look into it. Have you looked into it? What have you found? I would love to hear them press Shane on Dable's relationship with his coaches and what are Shane's thoughts on that. But I don't think they're going to press him on that. And what went wrong in September and October? Like, I want to hear about that beginning part of the season because that's what defines this season.
Right. All right. So that's an episode. So going forward, usually for the most part of the off season, it is Tuesday and Friday for episodes. As news comes in, it'll be a little different. Obviously, if there's coordinator changes, we'll be playing it by ear. But we usually it's 2 episodes per week, and then the draft gets crazy. We trying to make everything its own thing, right? We're not said on the last episode. We're not going to do quarterback trade up talk every episode. I would drive myself nuts if we did that. I don't know how other people do that every day on a podcast, let alone like social media, just every day. So
I forgot.
We'll be hitting every little thing every little detail futures contracts, we'll hit them. Who's the first futures contract signed tomorrow, Justin?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me who was the first futures contract of Joe Shane.
Do you know?
Wasn't it that center from the Jets?
No, that wasn't it was actually Antonio Williams.
Oh, that's right. Our friend.
Well, actually, he may not be the first futures contract because the first outside contract by Joe Shane was Antonio Williams. Then it was Davis Webb came back. So
wait, we didn't talk about MetLife burning down.
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know. I think
that was literally just hot steam, like hot water being like poured out. I'm almost for sure that's what that was.
It looked, and then you heard sirens. So
well, anytime you're in New Jersey, you hear sirens in the background.
You don't hear sirens at MetLife. That's the thing. And I'm like, okay, this stadium is burning down. And the funniest part of my caption is I innately and instinctively typed finally. Like it's finally on fire, it's burning down. Not that it is on fire, it's finally on fire. And that was the word that made me giggle the most. And it happened quite a few times, and then I heard sirens and I'm like, okay, it's happening. The stadium's finally burning down.
Burn it down. All right, we will see you guys soon this week. We'll just see you soon. We don't know when we'll see it, but we will see you. Appreciate you guys as always. Talking Giants versus the whole damn world. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.